Hello, YouTube. Hey guys, it's Sean here with Stealing Second, coming to you today with a video just to do state of the hobby. I want to talk about some of the things that you might hear, some of the verbiage it's used to explain some of the things that we're seeing, kind of talk about some of the opinions and predictions from around the hobby, and then just give you my opinions of what things mean, and that's all going to be overlapped and mixed in as we go forward. First thing I want to talk about, I want to jump into some of the verbiage, some of the descriptions you'll hear of used for people in different styles of collecting or hobby movements. So one of the things you'll hear a lot of people refer to is breakers. Breakers are people who buy either hobby boxes or retail boxes, packs, etc., to break and get to the public, whether it be through selling um, individual teams, players, rookies, etc., on that. So these breakers, a lot of people do not like breakers. There's some negative to them. A lot of people love breakers. I'm in between. I feel that breakers are very important because, as we've seen with some of the more expensive products in the past, a lot of collectors and people within this hobby don't have the funds or ability to go buy some of those products outright. So therefore, they are not able to get their hands on some of this product. The breakers become an in between for that and will help allow us to get that product, and will create a way for us to be able to buy in very inexpensively to get certain players and product that we normally couldn't afford to get. So I do think there's an importance there. Um, a negative that comes with that is they get blamed for driving the prices of boxes. Whether it be a hobby box, which those of you that don't know, a hobby box is a specific deal that the manufacturers have with the hobby stores, contracts to where they can buy specific boxes like hobby or jumbo, and they sell, and you can only get through your local card shop, which is also a phrase LCS you hear quite often. So hobby boxes and jumbo hobby boxes come from hobby stores, LCSs. So, and then you have retail, which is typically blasters, hangers, mega boxes, fat packs, and cello packs. That's typically found in retail stores like Walmart, Target. So there's the difference between those. But the breakers, they get blamed for driving the price a lot on boxes, which I don't think is purely the case. I do think they do have a large impact because breaking is like a new phenomenon that has really exploded. A lot of people, that's their avenue of getting in. It's kind of a gambling high. So it allows people to kind of get that out of their system and pay attention to that, and they enjoy that aspect of the hobby. But the breakers, they get the negative because they buy all the product and we can't get our hands on the product, and on from there. Now, I don't agree with that wholeheartedly. I agree partially with that. I do think breakers are a big influence on the prices of hobby boxes and things like that because they buy a lot and they break a lot. But I also believe that we have a new phenomenon that's happening called retail flippers. Retail flippers are something I really do not have much love for, so it's not going to be very positive. Retail flippers are guys and girls who go to the store, Walmart, Target, whatever's put on the shelf at 20, say, blaster boxes at $20 a box. They go in, there's 50 of them, they buy all 50 of them, they go out to their car, they take pictures from the passenger seat, post them online for $45, $55, $100, $200, depending on the product, and just basically charge you a markup for because they cleared the shelf, which I think is disgusting. It's aggravating. They're basically just forcing you to buy from a middleman, which is them, and not allowing people to just buy the product off the shelf and enjoy it. And for my own negativity, and this, a lot of people are going to be aggravated by this. I hope they all get burnt. I hope they all get stuck with the product, lose their butts on it, and learn a valuable lesson. Leave it on the shelves. If you are only going to open a box, buy one box. If you want to open a box, sit on a couple boxes, buy three boxes. Don't buy all of them. and then go try to sell them 3 times the price for everybody else just because you were there first. That's ridiculous. It's aggravating, and I think it does nothing but negative for the hobby. You're limiting what the average collector can purchase. A lot of people rely on retail and retail only for getting their hands on new product. Children, especially, a majority of them rely on retail. There's nothing on the shelves. There's been nothing on the shelves for months, all because you bought a $20 box and you think you can sell it for 35. Ridiculous. It's insane. It's aggravating. Please knock it off. But those are what I call retail flippers. And then you have the other side of it, flippers, who are people who buy something strictly with the intention of reselling it to make a profit. Now, what they do with that money they made, that breaks up into 2 categories. You have collectors who flip. I am one of those as well. So a collector who flips is a person who, I have a PC. I actually collect cards. I try very hard to further my collection, but I will buy cards if I come across a good deal or if I see something that I think is going to go up in value because it's a younger player, relatively unknown, and I think has a good shot of gaining value. I will specifically purchase those cards to flip them in the future to take that money and reinvest into my collection so I can have more money to buy things I want. So that's one side of it. Then you have the flippers who are basically stock traders. They're looking to just do day trading, which if you're familiar with stock market, you know exactly what day trading is, penny stocks, things like that. They buy really cheap. They wait till they get some information, or in this case, a player has a hot streak of a couple games, gets some notoriety, and then they flip it. And they just continually do that, and it's all about the money. It has nothing to do with the cards or collecting. I have some negativity towards them, and the reason I have negativity towards pure flippers are because, like pure investors, pure flippers, and retail flippers, they have no love for the hobby, and if there's a downtime, they're going to be the first to bail, and it'll be a mass exodus, and it will drive negative prices into the market. So I think there could be negative effects from that. So I don't have a lot of respect or love for those guys. With that being said, so on that note, you have the other side of it, which is the investing side of the hobby. Investors are people who are strictly buying cards to sit on like a stock for it to rise in value, whether it be short term, long term, either or. They're strictly in it, again, just for the money. The negative side of the investors that I don't like is when they're telling other people how to invest or telling them what to buy. I agree that buying cards or buying anything that's a hobby, period, is an investment because you're spending money on it, especially if you're looking for it to hold value or gain value. That's the definition of investment. But at the same time, when you start treating it like a stock market and you have no emotional stance on it, it's literally the only emotional connection you have is to the money. They're another group that will be a mass exodus if times get tough, that will deplete values of cards and could be a negative impact on the hobby. But with that being said, the positive side of it is these guys are bringing in a lot of money for the hobby, and they're bringing people who will turn into collectors and could stay into the hobby for long term and bring money and excitement to it and help create a better environment for this hobby. So there's a silver lining with that as well. Now, to the collector, what a collector is to me, a collector is a person who actually is collecting because they have joy for the cards. They've got history doing it, whether they've just started and they're creating that history, or it comes from childhood and that's their emotional connection to it. But a collector is people that are looking to keep their cards long term because they appreciate the cards, they enjoy the hobby, and the money is kind of a side note. It's not the driving factor. So I count myself as a collector. Now, do I look at different avenues here where I cross into each one of these? Slightly. So I do cross into breaking. I will get in on a break to try to get some cards that I want that I necessarily couldn't afford to buy outright, or buy the box myself and try to get. So I do appreciate that side of it. Flipping. I will buy cards individually that I think have potential in the future that I can flip to bring in more money to invest into my PC. Investing. I do invest in my cards. I try to buy cards that are going to be safe spends. So whatever I spend on that card, it will at least hold its value in the future. So if I get into a financial pinch or if something happens to me and my family's left with my cards, they would still have their value and they could be resold and take the liquid asset out of that. So I do have those different avenues. I just don't like the purest in the sense of pure investing or pure flipping or pure breaking with no emotional ties to the hobby. I feel like those people are dangerous to the hobby, and tread lightly with that. I don't like it. So on going back on topic here, you hear a lot of channels talking about what they think is happening in the market and that there's this secret group of which are secret groups of investors that are driving the prices, the Gary V's of the world that are getting us to where we're at. Now, I don't necessarily believe that's true. I think they're a portion. I think they're a very small portion that is pushing this. What I also think is happening, and I've seen it more and more, and there's other YouTube channels created and other social media outlets to kind of back what I believe. I believe that the hobby is growing. You have a lot of people from the 80s junk wax, 80s and 90s junk wax era that are coming back in, and people that don't know, the junk wax era is the era of basically mass production on cards. They mass produced cards. They created a giant bubble. This whole investing, flipping, everything that we're going through now started and really exploded in that era. This is kind of looking like a repeat. The only difference is we don't have the mass production that we did then. Kinda, we do, but it's a little different. Now we have manufactured low numbers of stuff. So there's one card, but there's 88 parallels of that one card. Some are numbered to 150, some are numbered to 600, some are numbered to 300. So there's still mass production of that card. There's just slightly different. So it's a manufactured need for those. So it's a little less mass production, I think, but we are seeing some crossovers there where you had in like the 80s, a lot of things that push like 80s and 90s cards that people will look at as not valuable is because there were so many graded, so many in mint condition, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in today's world, people are very aware of that. So when they rip a card from a pack, they immediately send it off to PSA, BGS, SGC, get it graded, and then it goes on the market. So there's a high population of high quality cards, so that can kill values in the future as well. So that's one thing to take in consideration. But on the other side of it, so I think we have a lot of these people from that era, the junk wax era, that have emotional ties, ripping packs as kids and losing their value. They took long hiatus. I'm one of these people, and now we're back into the hobby and we're going full steam ahead. We have better careers now. We have more money to invest. We can buy more stuff and enjoy it a lot more. So that's, like I said, I'm one of those people, so I understand that. But the hidden thing I think we're seeing is there's a mass entry of people coming into this hobby with unlimited funds. So we have people that are coming in who are musicians, superstar athletes, superstar movie stars, business, big time Fortune 500 business owners, things like this. People with unlimited income and unlimited budgets that can come into the hobby. And just to put that in perspective for you, so there's way it can drive prices and things and they can stay under the radar and you not really know. But just for the facts, so say a 1952 Mickey Mantle baseball card and a PSA 4, I don't know what the price is. I'm just going to throw out there, say $10,000. It's probably way more than that, but $10,000. So for the average collector like myself and most people to go buy one of those cards, $10,000 is a huge investment. That's very, very big money. So there's a lot of thought in there, a lot of collection consolidating just to get one for the collection. So then you get like one of these superstars or whatever For them to go spend a guy that's, say, an actor that's making 30 to $100 million per movie, doing several movies per year, that person to go drop $100,000 and to buy all that card and that it's in existence is not a big deal. That's the same spend equivalent to me taking my family to go to Taco Bell and get meals for everybody. So that's something to take into consideration. It's a drop in the bucket for them. So when they have unlimited budgets, they can really step up their collections for long term if they're true collectors and buy everything that's on the market of certain cards and it really not affect them. There's no negative to that. And the only way we'll see those cards go back into population typically is financial issues, which people with unlimited budgets, not likely. Side of outside of financial issues, divorce, which is a segue off financial issues. They might have divorces, but they're financially stable enough, not likely. Death. A lot of these people that are getting into the hobby, there's YouTube channels, there's Instagram, go follow them. They're young, they're healthy, good chance they're going to live a long time. So death is pretty far in the future. So these people could buy all of these high-end cards and not even really be a big investment for them, stick it in a safe somewhere, and it never see the light of day for another 30 years. Well, then you have the other people that are out here collecting, just trying to get their hands on one. Well, those prices of those 1, 2, 10 that are still available that leak out into the market go way up, and now we've created an influx in pricing, and it's a big deal. So that's a positive for it. So you got to look long term with all these younger people or newer people getting back in, what they're buying and what we're seeing the increases on. Long term, if you have this stuff in your collection, long term, what you could see is the stuff you have in your collection that was, medium value now, in the next 5, 10, 15 years when it becomes more scarce because people with bigger budgets have kind of hoarded it all, that value could go up big time and you could see some big returns. So that's the positive of it. The negative of it is I really foresee pricing going up in the future. Now, if we have a crisis come off of the virus we're dealing with right now, a lot more income loss, a lot less spending, you're going to see the mass exodus of the flippers, the midline investors, things like that, and you're going to see a lot of those people fade away, and so a lot of the breakers fade away, and you're going to get a drop. But just like if you look at the history of baseball cards, you kind of see this. Now, after the 90s, you saw this, but now you saw this. So that's kind of the plane we're going to see probably with this. But I think we have chances of a longer life with this, just because I think the one thing people aren't talking about is all the big money that's coming into the hobby. When you have stars, superstars, you have professional baseball players, superstars like Josh Donaldson, who is a collector. He's an avid collector. He collects cards and memorabilia. He's very open about it. You should check out some of his information if you're curious. These people have unlimited budgets compared to the average person, so they can pick up whatever they want. You have actors like the Wahlberg family. Their kids, their boys, just started a YouTube channel, and they're buying a lot of product and ripping it on there. And you look at that and you're like, that's not a big deal. You also got to do their kids, but you got to take in consideration these kids are backed by very high budgets. Their parents aren't going to let them do without. And if it's an investment these kids are into that brings money in the future, the parents are more likely to pump more money into that to help these kids go get whatever they want. But they have way bigger budgets than the average collector. You're talking 12-year-old kids that are going to have much higher budgets than the average 40-year-old guy collecting in here. So this is going to be a big growth for the future of these cards, I believe. And we've got Instagram where there's, JT Triple Crown 24 told me of a basketball player that has an Instagram video out of showing off his collection of his own cards. So you have professional players showing that kind of stuff. You have athletes, or not athlete, I'm sorry, you have actors and musicians that are getting big into this. They have really big budgets. They can drive this. We've seen it with tennis shoes, things like that. If it's going that route with sports cards, we could see major increases and what things are worth over the next 5 to 10 years if it continues. I do think it will continue. Usually, something like this, even if it's a trend, it's usually a 5 to 10 year trend before it fades off and dies. So cards will probably continue to get much more expensive over the next 5 years at least, which could benefit a lot of people. That could mean a lot of collectors are sitting on gold mines, and if they wanted to cash out, get out of the hobby, take that money and reinvest it towards life, they're going to be set up. But then there's other people that are just collecting. It's going to be a little tougher moving forward. We're going to have to be much more cautious and creative on how we get cards into our collections. And we're going to have to rely a lot on trading, probably a lot more than spending. So that's just my 2 pennies on it all, what I think's kind of happening out there. If you guys disagree or agree, leave a comment down below. I look forward to hearing and seeing what you guys got to say. And we'll catch you next time. Thank you.